I can't even count. Probably at least a dozen clients over the years where, if you hear of any bank sales, any foreclosures, any of those things, let me know. I'm all over that. We can get a deal. Yeah. And then one comes up and you take them to see it and they go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And right?
talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't quite get it.
Welcome to episode 363 of the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Ariel, Kormendy. Adrian and I today are talking about power of sales. They are creeping up in the MLS world. Lots of them on the market. We're going to talk about that and more. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Hello.
The banks are taking your home.
The banks are taking your home. Yes. I think you were the one that informed me about the
5% of current MLS listings, roughly. It's fluctuating every day.
That's right.
5% of MLS listings are currently power of sale.
Power of sale.
Some kind of bank sale, some kind of repo.
So what I'm noticing...
You didn't pay your bill and now I'm going to sell it.
That's right. I'm noticing, there's all different scenarios. And the number of distressed sales, if there was a category that could quantify distressed sales, I think it would be more than double the number of power of sales. So you're probably like 15% to 20% of sales are distressed. Mm-hmm. And by distressed, I mean they're on the verge of power of sale, or they're on the verge of having to cash in RSPs and savings that they never want to touch in order to maintain their mortgage, whatever. So a lot of desperate people out there. So I think what's important, because there are a lot of these houses out, is educating buyers on what to know about a power of sale home that may differ from a traditional sale where it's not distressed.
Well, for me, there's two big. So if you want to go down the path of talking about what the buyer's side looks like, two primary things for me that stand out. One is, as you see it, is what you're buying. So it's oftentimes an as is, as seen type of scenario. So there's no warranties, guarantees, the chattels, the fixtures, none of that. Nothing matters. So what you see is what you get. If the stove is broken, or there's no stove, or if the electrical isn't turning on, the plumbing is leaking, there's mold in the attic, doesn't matter.
And to further elaborate on that and how it would differ from a more traditional sale, is usually when you buy a house, you'll have a clause in the offer saying that, until the end of closing day or maybe 24 hours following closing, if there are any deficiencies that differ from the condition of the home when you bought it, the seller may still be liable for those repairs. So for example, you get the keys, you move in, you turn the AC on, and it's not blowing cold.
Yeah.
As long as you bring that to the attention of the lawyers immediately, you may be entitled to compensation for the repair.
All fixtures and any included chattels have to be working and in good working order.
Yes. So when you're buying a power of sale home and it is as is, as seen, whatever, you don't have those, you can still do a home inspection. So you can still make an informed decision, but you still run the risk of things not being in the same condition as on completion as they were before. So if you move in and the fridge isn't working and the AC is busted, that's a risk you need to be prepared to take when buying. Now, I've had clients buy a house and 2 weeks later, the furnace failed. Shitty luck. So it does happen.
That actually happens quite often with power of sales because there's nobody maintaining the home. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they are left with just the doors locked for potentially for months before the home goes on the market because they have to go through their legal and paper trail process before that even happens.
Yeah.
But if you think realistically, logistically and realistically, if a homeowner is getting kicked out of their home because the bank is taking it over, there is that slight chance that they're going to have the I don't give a shit attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're not replacing the furnace filter, or maybe they know there's something wrong and they're going to leave it like that. Maybe they leave debris, garbage, maybe there's an infestation of some kind of a rodent or a bug or whatever.
Yeah. And now I know this is not always the case. So if this has happened to you and you don't fall into this category, don't be offended. But it is more common with power of sale homes that they're in rough shape because they haven't been cared for as well as a home that might be for sale for other reasons. So you go into these homes and maybe these types of people that are, not able to pay their bills and they end up in this power of sale situation. Maybe they're just more prone to being neglectful with other things, not only their finances. Now, obviously, there's exceptions where there's extreme circumstances. Someone loses a job or there's, whatever. But I do see many of these homes in rough shape.
Yeah. Sometimes there's substance abuse issues.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I was in one yesterday and they had removed, I don't know who removed it, but the house was in kind of rough shape. They had newer floors, but they were installed.
They took the floors with them?
No, they were still there, but they were in horrible, like they were really poorly done. They removed all the smoke detectors for some reason. There was a Nest thermostat. They removed the Nest thermostat. So it was just the base plate with the connections. So you
anything that they could sell.
Yeah. For sure. But you couldn't test the furnace, couldn't test the AC. I mean, we could see visually that those things were fucking 25 years old anyway. So, you go in assuming, all right, well, I'm going to have to replace these anyways.
Right.
But that's kind of the mindset you have to have. Now, these are often sales where you might be able to get a deal.
Might.
So you should go in there not expecting and a lot and trying to see past the dirtiness and the messed up floors and the banged up walls, because those are the houses that might have more potential, especially for first time home buyers, which are also the people that are the least likely to be able to see things that from that perspective. As a real estate agent, it's, our responsibility to try to educate them on that.
I can't even count. I mean, probably at least a dozen clients over the years where, if you hear of any bank sales, any foreclosures, any of those things, let me know. I'm all over that. We can get a deal. Yeah. And then one comes up and you take them to see it and they go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And
right? Talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't quite get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the best.
Well, I bought. So you were never, I don't think you ever visited my condo in West Palm Beach. No, you didn't. So that was during the
2008,
the crash of the market. Yes. In the US.
Mm-hmm.
And so it turned into a interesting situation because it was a power of sale. And then the bank, the lender, which was a bank, went into foreclosure.
Mm.
So we ended up buying it from the government.
Okay.
But it was left in excellent condition, but it had stayed vacant and nobody had gone in there for probably a year.
Was there a mold issue?
There wasn't, but it was high humidity. There were things like, because in Florida, there's a lot of humidity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have the AC going. The paint started peeling off the walls in certain areas. The finishing on the cabinetry had started bubbling. We had to replace the appliances because they were like corroded or whatever. So things can happen in those situations for sure.
Another thing to consider is in many cases, if not all, but certainly in many situations with power of sale, they're testing our fire alarms here.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Jen. In the calendar, it says all day.
Yeah.
And before we got into the studio here, I'm like, oh, fuck, don't tell me they're going to be doing it
I don't
now.
imagine the mics are picking it up. But one of the things you'll find in a lot of these sales is that there's often a clause that says if the original owner settles their debt prior to closing, they're entitled to keep the house. So if that's the case with the house you're looking at, you have to be prepared that potentially up until closing, you run the risk of not actually getting the house. I think at that point, it's probably unlikely that that's going to happen, but it is a possibility.
Yes. The other thing I was going to say when you're buying a power of sale is to expect delayed response times. So there's no way the mic isn't picking that up. It's fucking loud as hell.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Delayed response times because you're sending an offer to a bank, a lender, whatever, and oftentimes they'll ask for 48 hours for
or more.
Or
sometimes
more.
a week, 5 days I've seen.
Yeah.
Especially with the bigger banks.
Yeah.
So also where I'm seeing a lot of this.
And sorry to cut you off, but you might not have an opportunity to make any revisions, especially if they start getting other offers during that period of time.
Right.
So you better make sure that you're not, lowballing and, trying to negotiate with them because they might not sign it back. You might not get an opportunity to make a revision and you're committed for whatever, 2, 5, 10 days until they actually do respond.
I think it'd be interesting to get somebody from, there's a lot of different lenders. Like the house we were looking at the other day is owned by a lender that's a non-traditional lender. It's like a B lender or even a C lender. It's just more of a relatively small company that specializes in helping people that have unconventional income or, short-term finances potentially for flipping homes. This particular home was bought for almost 1.2. It's now listed under 900 a year later.
Wow.
Or sorry, 2 years, 2 or 3 years later. What was I going to say with that? Oh, a lot of these, and we ran into this with one of our listings this year, a lot of banks probably have a very structured process for how much, well, they do for sure have a process for how much they can sell it for relative to how long they've tried to sell it for. So what I mean by that is, we tried to sell a house this year and the valuation of it, in our opinion, was less than the mortgage. And we ended up getting an offer in that range, which we thought was reasonable, but the bank wouldn't let us sell it because it was less than the mortgage. Now, this wasn't a power of sale yet, but if it got to that point, I wonder how long the bank has to wait as far as their processes are concerned before they can reduce the price. Because you'll run into some houses or listings where the mortgage is more than market value, but you're going to be banging your head on a wall saying, I'm offering you a reasonable amount of money, but they're not accepting it. Well, they probably have to wait a certain amount of time because banks do have to try to get a fair value for the home, where I think in the States, they'll just sell it for whatever the best offer is. I don't think they have those same requirements.
I'm not sure about these quote unquote requirements.
Yeah, for sure. It's in Canada, it's mandated that banks have to try to sell it for fair market value.
Yeah, but in the circumstance that you were mentioning before, where it hadn't gone to a power of sale yet, it was just the seller selling it.
I see. And
seller,
they couldn't make the difference up.
Yeah, but the seller could have sold it.
Right, but they didn't want to pay the difference.
Exactly. It's not that it went to the bank. So
yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I thought of it that way.
Yeah, because that's what they were telling to our realtor.
Right.
Which was a bullshit fluff fucking story.
That's right.
Because they could have sold it for whatever value that they wanted. They
didn't want to eat it.
They would be responsible for the difference amount. That's all.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the money, and they obviously didn't want the bank to put that as a charge against them because they couldn't pay it, and then they'd have to go into bankruptcy. But guess what fucking happened? That house ended up going into power of sale.
Did it? I never kept up with it.
I don't know if it actually sold or not. I didn't check that. But
I bet they wish they took our offer.
You better believe they should have, because for sure it didn't sell for as much as the offer we had on the table. And we had actually a couple of them at the more or less the same valuation after having it on the market for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And that was at a time where the market really took there was a blip, we'll say, in the market. The snow was really hindering a lot of activity too, because that was dead of the winter. Yeah. Anyway, if you're struggling, do you have any advice? If you're somebody right now that bought, let's say in 2020, 2021, 2022, peak of the market, and now you were subject to the fluctuating interest rates and increased interest costs. So now you're feeling the pinch.
I think the good news is I think a lot of people are now we're kind of on the downside of that trend. So people refinancing now, they're getting more reasonable rates.
Yes.
But if you find, if you refinanced 2 years ago and your rates are really high and you've been struggling to keep up with your payments, I think, there's different things you can do. I mean, it's such a horrible position to be in. Buy your first home or dream home. And I know some people that built their dream home and then couldn't move into it because they couldn't afford it anymore.
Couldn't afford to finish it.
Yeah, such a horrible position to be in. Nobody expects that to happen. But I would say it's just a house. It's just money. And I would say you're better first options, I think you need to look at, can you refinance, maybe extend the term, find a creative way to lower your expenses. That's your first option. Get rid of one of your cars. Like I
was just going to say, check what you've got in the driveway first.
100%. Like, be humble, get past your pride and, get rid of your cars, pick up a cheap used vehicle, cut your expenses. We have a money savings tip guide that we've had it for several years, but it's still very relevant.
Yeah.
Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Get
Where
your
can
shit
you download
together.
that?
We'll put a link in the description. But get your shit together, sort your finances out, get your priorities straight. Stop going on vacation. Stop eating out. Stop ordering coffee. Like,
cut all your subscriptions.
Live like you're broke.
Because you are.
Well, that's right. And then
if you can't pay your fucking mortgage, you broke.
That's right. And if that doesn't work,
you get a bus pass. There's no cable. There's no Uber Eats.
Right.
Like, come on.
If that doesn't work, then your two options are accept that you're not going to be able to afford the house and sell it before you can't.
Yeah. Don't let it go into a foreclosure / power of sale situation.
Sell it now, move on, or rent it out and go live in a condo. Find a cheaper way to live while someone else is paying the mortgage. That may be a solution for you.
Yeah.
But the key is to do it before, just be honest with yourself and accept that it's inevitable. So do it early.
Great advice. And there's more great advice apparently going to be in the link in our description for that money savings tip guide.
Yes. Download it.
And
we will save your life.
Good chat.
Your finances.
See you next week.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to episode 363 of the Real Estate Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Show us some love by throwing us a like. Throw us some comments. Let us know what you think. And thanks to that fire alarm, we've included a link below in the description for that money savings tip guide. Don't forget to download that too. We'll see you next time.